My name is Peter McKeon and this is my associate Jeremy Pearce. Just a quick show of hands, has anyone in this room seen me or Jeremy speak or train before? Thank God for turnover.
Two.
Right. All right. Just before we get going and we unpack, welcome ladies, grab a seat. Just before we get going and we unpack what the agenda is going to look like today, we're both of the very, very strong belief that if you've given up your time to be here, typically what facilitators do in events like this is they put together a PowerPoint, roll it out, and all things being equal, bring some value to most of the people. But our philosophy is that it's very, very important to be held accountable if you're going to deliver content, particularly around the profoundly important area of sales, that facilitators are held accountable. So I just wondered before we kick it off, what would you personally like to leave here with today that would positively affect you in your role in what you're doing tomorrow? What would you like us to deliver to you? Just forget what the agenda is. For example, a couple of ideas.
Whether you want to increase your commissions, whether you might want to help people, maybe you want a career advancement, anything like this. Communicate better. Maybe ideas.
Yeah. Maybe you're sick and tired of just quoting and hoping. Just quote hope. If I could, Peter, if you or Jeremy could help me with that, that'd be great. Maybe you're getting smashed with price. Everything comes down to price. And no one's taken the time to unpack that and give you some sort of a methodology or a strategy of how to deal with it. Can I just open up to the audience, what would you like to leave here with this afternoon? Go.
Lifting profile. Lifting your personal profile.
Lifting your personal profile.
Particularly if you're in sales and you're an introvert. It seems like an odd mix, but a lot of people.
Well, I'll have a bit to say about that, not necessarily, but yes, okay, you can hold us accountable for that. What else would you like, guys, girls?
Conversion rates.
Conversion rates. You like? We can show you ways to increase your conversion ratio. That'll be great. Done. Someone else.
A bit along the same line, but convincing people of your capability when you are more introverted.
So communicating your value proposition.
Communicating the value, and a bit hand in hand with the dollars side of things.
Right. So
knowing what to charge for the experience and selling your voice.
Selling value versus price.
Value.
People often say they want the cheapest price, but they really want is the best value for money. But if you can't communicate that, it comes down to a number of points. Yep, we'll deliver on that. What else would you like? Yeah.
How to break through regional procurement processes. So if you're tendering for regional work, but with local providers, how do you get to?
We'll certainly be talking about the sales process. In terms of deep diving on that, at the end of this program, we're offering some free coaching sessions. So if you'd like to sign up for that, we'll be happy to unpack that for you. Someone else? Yes.
Making your delivery memorable.
Do you want to just elaborate a little bit on that?
Like whether that's the first impression or that confidence in that first interaction.
Yeah.
To take it from a difference between having confidence in your product but actually delivering that in your first moment.
Yeah, exactly. And I think many of us are very good at presenting our product, but really it's about what we call the H to H, the human-to-human interaction. How do we build that trust and authenticity and communication with people? Which then, by definition, expands into the delivery. So yes, we do that. Anyone else?
Just
Yeah.
building rapport when clients don't like being sold to.
Yeah. If I said to you, what's your definition of rapport? What's it mean to you?
It's like that human to human getting on.
Yeah. It's something that's quite authentic. And I think, which I'm going to go into in just a moment, when we really unpack the word sales or salesperson, there's quite a lot of negative connotations attached to that. So I'm going to see if we can maybe demystify that word for you and the others in the group as well. Jeremy, what are some of the other things? We're going to talk a little bit about business ethics, which is along with that.
Yep. Yeah, it's slowly getting there.
There we go. Next one. Sorry, just getting used to it.
Yep.
Over to you.
So, process. So how do you convince a complete stranger in purchasing something? How do you get from one point to the other? How do you build that process? There's a few steps in between, and the more you understand that process, the more you can do it, the more you know about it, the better you can improve.
Next one, I got it.
So you don't just want to talk to your customers about your products. You want to have some other questions that they may be able, that you might be able to ask them. Why that product? Why do they need to buy from you today, for example?
Mhm.
These are the dominative buying triggers that you'll find in a qualification or a discovery.
Okay, and we're also going to be, as I just mentioned before, talking a lot about price versus value. It's a buzzy word, but there are actually some very, very clear methodologies that you can approach in terms of how you communicate with your customers, not just about price, but about value. So we're going to spend a fair bit of time on that as well.
Yeah. And
We've got some ripper examples of that as well, Jeremy,
yeah,
haven't
that's
we?
right. Yeah.
And then we're going to really talk about, everyone talks about B2C or B2G, we're talking about before business to government, business to business, B2C, business to consumer. Today, never is it more critically important that it's H to H, it's human to human. And in an environment where many buyers want to keep at arm's length from many sellers, we'd like to spend some time today about understanding, giving you some strategies about how you can actually engage with people, again, in this authentic way.
So you had an exercise for that.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if, just talking about salespeople, the term salespeople, and how people, most people in the market, most people in the community, most people in the society frame the word salespeople. If we as a group were to go down to the Queen Street Mall right now, and we pulled 100 people off to the side, one at a time, and we said, we're going to have a word association game. We're going to give you one word, we want you to come back and tell us what is the word that you would associate with this word. And the word is salesperson. 100 people at random. What are some of the adjectives that we would hear? Salesperson, quick. One word association, go.
Snake.
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 Go.
Or snake.
We've got to get real here. Snake, what else? Truth. Pushy. Yep.
Bushy, annoying.
Bullcrap lovers.
Yeah. Liar. What else? Honestly.
Deceiver.
Yeah. Deceptive. What else?
Box ticking.
Sorry?
Box ticking.
Box ticking.
Unethical. Are you allowed positives?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Unethical. It's not my list, it's your list. I'm just asking. Yeah, what else?
Cars.
Sorry?
Expensive cars.
Expensive cars.
Cheap cars. Real estate. They're all driving expensive cars.
Expensive cars. What else?
Charismatic.
Charismatic.
Persuasive.
Persuasive, yeah.
Problem solvers.
Problem solvers.
Just bought a house, mate.
And the list goes on. So, amongst many other things at random, word association in February 2021 of salesperson: snake, pushy, liar, deceptive, box ticking, unethical, underlying motives, commission, numbers game, expensive cars, charismatic, persuasive, and problem solvers. When you really look at that, in its most truthful form, is that correct or incorrect? It's incorrect. So how do we in society garner these views? Well, bad experiences, yeah. Stereotypes. There is no question that there are liars, donors, cheats and thieves in the selling industry, but also in every other industry. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
I mean, for me, I've got a very, very simple philosophy at Sales Masters. Love the client and use the money. Never love the money and use the client. Selling today is about having the capacity to create an environment where an act of good faith can take place. Ethics lie at the very core of effective selling today. To me, I think that the marketplace, rightfully so, not only won't tolerate that, I think that those charlatans and that negativity from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s and noughties, I think that that's almost gone. Are you not experiencing that in your own world? So maybe, just maybe, it has a bit to do with us and our own self-confidence. And I just put together this little chart here for you to just have a look at the difference. Someone in sales who has a high level of self-confidence, that's confidence, not arrogance. Confidence, not arrogance. These men and women tend to do what they believe to be right, even if others mock or criticise them. And people with low self-confidence, they tend to be governing their behaviour based on what other people think. People with high self-confidence tend to be willing to take risks and go the extra mile to achieve better things. And people with lower self-confidence, they tend to stay in their comfort zone, fearing failure, and so avoiding taking risks. In sales, there are three things to be successful. You will need confidence, you will need resilience, and you'll need drive. And every single one of these things can be developed. When I started selling many, many years ago, out of a team of 12 salespeople, I was consistently last or second last every single month. And it bothered me, it bothered my self-esteem, it bothered my confidence, it bothered my job security. So I started to wonder what made these men and women so very good at what they did. How come they seemed so proficient at it, yet I wasn't? And so I went on a journey of developing and learning the profession of selling. And I remain a student of that profession today. And I don't say this egotistically, but as someone with 4 Australian retail sales records, it's not about push, it's about pull. It's not about manipulation. It's about effectiveness. It's about helping people. It's about serving people. But what underpins the behaviours are the confidence and the resilience and the drive. And if you feel that you're limited in that area, as I certainly was and I continue to be on a day-to-day basis, ask yourself the question, when was the last time I bought a book on resilience? When was the last time I bought a book on confidence? We can't just sit here and say, well, this is just the way it is. We can do things about it. Formal education will get you the job and self-education will get you what you want. And there's so much great material out there of people who have messed it up that are willing to share. So confidence is profoundly important. Admitting your mistakes and learning from it. You know, none of us have got all this worked out. None of us. We're all students of this profession. People who tend to have low self-confidence tend to work hard to cover up their mistakes, hoping that they can fix the problem before anyone notices. And waiting for others to congratulate you on your accomplishments, as opposed to extolling your own virtues as others to others as often as possible. You know, recognition is a high motivator, but you find very effective people in sales tend to be, back to your comment before, much more of an introverted rather than an introvert than an extrovert. And it may come as some surprise to you, but I very much get my energy from being alone. And I've picked a very interesting career to kind of be up here and be publicly speaking. But the truth is, as an individual, my profile is far more extroverted than introverted. Accepting compliments graciously. Thanks, I worked hard for that and that proposal. I really appreciate you recognising my efforts, as opposed to, oh, look, it was nothing, anyone could have done it. So confidence is really, really, really important.
There's another word that we can, drive and resilience. There's one word starting with C, we can actually combine those two together. Does anybody know what that word might be? There's another word starting with C. Competent. Anything else?
Creative.
What was that? Commitment? Commitment. Exactly. The drive, results to drive your resilience is all about commitment. How committed are you? How obsessed are you sacrificing everything for that one thing? And with confidence, it's simply the knowledge that you have on a subject will build confidence. And knowledge is just knowing, so understanding, so learning. Like Peter said, always mastering this forever. Yeah. What's this? Sorry for putting that up there. I apologise. It's only 3:30, so that is a craft beer recipe, essentially. So there's only 4 ingredients to a craft beer. We have water, yeast, hops and malt. That makes a beer. Mainly craft beer, or you guys might know your classic beers, your 4X or your other beers, right? They're not craft beer, they just grab a vat of alcohol and some beer flavored liquid and put it together to combine to make 4X or hard super dry. But that's their recipe. And the sales process is simply a recipe of all your ingredients that you build up. So it's like making a cake. If you change something in the recipe, then your process changes. So we need to build a sales process around a recipe that will work every single time. So has anybody heard the word sales process before? One, two, a few? What does that mean to someone? What does a sales process mean to somebody? Can somebody give me an example?
Just having a methodology you follow to from start to finish, I guess, is the process. To try and obtain the sale or
Yeah.
get to an end of the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody else?
In a word, consistency.
Consistency, yeah.
It's a measured approach rather than arrangement.
Yeah, definitely. Measured approach. So we can go back and we can hold ourselves accountable. We can track what we're doing. You change one thing essentially and you mark up the recipe. So we want to build a sales process that is refined and that we can repeat and predict. So if we're doing something very similar in our day-to-day actions, we can actually repeat that and we then know and have confidence. So you guys, let me give you an example. Let me think. Have you guys given an example of a time maybe that you felt you didn't know what you were doing? How much confidence did you have in that action? So the more you practice selling, responses, the more you'll understand, the more you'll know, and the more you have confidence. So, Peter?
Yeah. Look, back to what Jerry's talking about. Everyone's heard this term about sales process. And if you take anything from today, anything, have a process that works for you. But what I'd like to do is just unpack that a bit more and just give you an example of the power of having the right sales process. Before I go to the example, if you walked into McDonald's today, you will have a sales process applied to you. And it goes like this. There is some sort of a welcome. They take your order. They offer you an upsell. What is an upsell?
Would you like fries?
Yes, exactly. Something that's relevant. A secondary offer that complements a primary product. Offer you an upsell. You will pay for it. They will deliver it. And thank you. Hi, quarter pounder with cheese, Coke and fries, $5.95. There it is. See you. Hello, next, can I help you? Whatever it may be. Quarter pounder with cheese, Coke and fries, $5.95. There it is. See you. Every single time. Why?
It works.
Well, it does work. There's no question about that. But what is the business case that supports the sales process?
Consistency.
They have worked out that is the most efficient way that they can maximise dollar spend for every man, woman and child going through their stores every day. Critically important. I'll give you an example of a job that I did a while ago. I got approached, this is all well documented, I got approached by a company called General Motors Holden a number of years ago. And they said to me, I went and I met with the executive of GMH, and they said to me, I said, what is it that you want? And they said, what we want, Peter, is we'd like to get a result done for us at the Brisbane International Motor Show. You know, this across the road here at the convention centre. And we do no work, zero, in the automotive industry. It's not our space, we don't operate in it. But to me, it doesn't matter what someone's product is. What matters is the sales process, and is it being executed effectively? So I sat down with them and I said, what is the success metric, General Motors Holden? What will you and I measure as being a success for this show? And they said to me, Peter, what we want is we want you to sell 50 new Holdens in 10 days. No idea about cars, don't do any work in the industry. And I said, right. I said, well, the first thing I have to do is I have to go away and do my research. So I went away and I spoke to salespeople at these big dealerships. I said, what's your view of the world of these trade shows? What do you think these guys and girls said to me? Absolute waste of time. I will tell you now, Nutwise Cars and Shows. Okay. I spoke to the management. What was their view of the world? Similar. I spoke to the dealer principals. I spoke to the people who put out the people who put on the show to find out how many people have been through the door over recent years. I also found out, this is all well documented, the most motor vehicles General Motors Holden had ever sold at a motor show anywhere in Australia was 38, and that was back in the 80s. And they now want 50 in what analysts would describe as the most competitive time the industry has ever seen. Now, I don't know about your industry, but here's what I learned about this industry. People will shop you out for $50 or $100 on a $40,000 product in a heartbeat. There is no loyalty, zero. What if it was true that the way that the automotive industry was selling to the Australian public, its sales process, what if that was flawed? I worked out that most people would rather visit a dentist than walk into a new car dealership. Correct? It's all flawed. But this is just what they do, every time. New people come in and just do the same thing, repeat. Is that a good deal for General Motors Holden? So here's what happened. The number one manufacturer in southeast Queensland at the time was a company called TMC, which was the Toyota Motor Corporation of Australia. At the Brisbane International Motor Show that year, Toyota sold 57 new cars. And I'm here to share with you that is a very, very, very good effort in a highly competitive environment. 8 feet away from us, into that wall, was Ford. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, there isn't a big difference between a Ford Falcon and a Holden Commodore. It's about the same in terms of its market segment. It's not like one is selling Ferraris, it's one is selling Hyundais. 8 feet away was Ford, and they sold 11 new cars. And directly opposite them was General Motors Holden. And I worked there, and General Motors Holden that year, we sold 245 new cars. But the question you've got to ask yourself, this is my point, don't miss this. This is my point about the value of the sales process. I worked out that what is called the delivery ratio of this sales process that I engineered for them, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. And every one of these steps had a safety net for the customer or the salesperson to ethically fall into. And I worked out the delivery ratio of this product in this environment, this process, is 1 in 10. It's not 1 in 12, it's not 1 in 8, it's 1 in 10. I had a target of 250 new cars, unheard of in the country. If the execution of the delivery rate is 1 in 10, how many people do we have to sit down and deliver that process to? Correct, it's a 10-day show. How many people per day? This is the metrics. 250 people per day. It's a 10-hour day. How many people per day? 25 per day, per hour. That's under 29 salespeople. And after 90 minutes into the show, I had 13 left. And the reason for that is that 16 of these people, when it came to behavioural change in the way that they went about their sales activities, they were, no, I don't do that, I do that, I'm happy with that, I'll get to do that, and I'll just do that. They took the sales process and modified it to suit who? You don't use the sales process in sales because you like it, you use it because it... So the goal becomes, how do you get supported and moved and motivated and educated to adhere to a process that's aligned to your values, that's good for the customer and good for them. So I've got 16 people, I've got 13 people left out of 29 salespeople. Approximately how many people per hour do they have to, this is called this is called the sit-down strategy. If you're at a trade show and you want to ascertain or qualify someone in terms of their level of buy-in or interest, invite them to take a seat. What's your first name? Olivia. So it might be Olivia at this early stage if you're comfortable. Do you want to grab a seat? Maybe we could toss around a couple of numbers and see if we can make a sensible list. For every 10 Olivias that I sit down, 9 will say no and 1 will say yes. Now it's not every 10. I could sit down 27, Olivia's get 27 no's, then yes. Does that make sense to you? So it's an average. So I've got 13 people left, which is 2 per hour, which is 1 every 30 minutes. So what these people did, they went on that journey, and that's how we did it. And people thought we were lucky. We held back a year. We sold 245 that year. I sold 241 the year before, 238 the year before that. The year before it, I didn't work, was 23, and the year after it didn't work, was 17. 22, 238, 241, 245, 17. My point is this, if the delivery ratio for that product in that environment was 1 in 10, in total sold 57, how many people did they sit down and execute sales processes? It was 1 in 10. Yet these idiots sold 11. We sold about 250. How many? 90 before I started work, that about 2,250 of those men and women are going to say what? And that's the business. Not rude, not aggressive, not smart, not spivvy, not pushy. Just no, it's not going to work for me. But if you're not asking, your competition is.
Can you tell us about the safety net?
Yeah, absolutely. We use language like, are you comfortable if we would explore this? Does the timing seem right to you now to move and maybe get it's that language framework. No, yes. No push, no manipulation, just transparency. So that, I'm just sharing with you what's up there, is an example of a process. Create to connect to customer, understand the customer's needs, address them, close the sale and establish. It doesn't matter what you've got, whether it's a McDonald's one or if it's something else, but you need to have something that you replicate and become quite masterful on it. Have you got any questions on that, just on the process bit? Who's got a process that they use? Who's struggling with it? When you get a lead, what do you do?
Bring them up,
Right.
qualify.
Ring them up, qualify. Okay? Does that work?
And then we go and see them, sit down and null it all out, make sure we're answering everything they need.
So I'll let you move. What's the next slide? Look here.
Well, it's qualification.
Yeah, exactly, just on that very point. So I'll hand you to Jeremy, just to talk a bit more about qualification.
So this is the why and the how of your sales process. And we need to understand the why and how to find simple motives for the customer. What problem are we trying to solve? The exact problem are we trying to solve? And we get that through discovery or qualification. And I'll give you an example of, just pretend we're at a phone store with phone sales representatives, going places, great. That's where you've got to start somewhere. And a guy walks in to your store and he says, I want to buy that phone, for example. I want to buy a phone. He points to the phone and he says, I want to buy that. What would you do? What would you guys do?
And ask them what you're going to use it for.
What he's going to use it for?
Asking why that specific one.
Why that specific one?
I'm asking if you'd like to pay cash or whether he's going to do it.
Pay cash, yeah. See, there's a the crucial step in between is the need, the why. The exact reason why they came here to buy the phone, but he thinks he wants to buy that phone. I think we'd be doing him a bit of a disservice by just immediately telling him, oh look, yeah, all right, cool, let's load her up, let's get the credit card out, let's buy the phone. Why is that? Well, we're the expert. We know all about phones. We want to be able to help him. We want to create that service for him. And we do that by asking questions. And we, it's a very simple part. But the more we ask why, the better we can uncover these differences, because you may be able to upsell them. You may be able to, maybe on the wrong product completely, or we might be able to offer something completely different. And so we want to be able to offer the right solutions to the problem. And that can only be done with some sort of qualification or question time or question scenario. And so he comes in, he says, all right, as a salesperson, he will ask, all right, what do you use that phone for? He says, it's for work phone. All right, great. What do you do for work? Great. I am a real estate agent. All right. What are you going to use it for work? What are you going to use that phone for work for? I'm going to record homes or take pictures of homes. Well, that camera doesn't actually, that phone doesn't even have any cameras. It's not going to be a good phone for that customer. So we need to be able to ask the right questions. So what I would suggest for everybody here to do, if you haven't got a list of questions, it's always best to come up with as many as you can. I generally say 50. Write down as many questions as you can possibly come up with at home, maybe after this, and figure out what the answers are going to be for your product, service. What are the answers going to be? And knock off those questions the least likelihood chance of that one actually being the right question for your particular product or service. Okay, so that way we can come up with and we know exactly what questions are best to ask when we're speaking with customers in the future. And through this, we connect with the customers as well.
Exactly. Might give you, if those of you that have this paper, you might want to write these down, just change my mind now. These to me are probably the four most powerful questions, qualification questions, ever designed in sales. Now, these aren't specific questions that you ask prospects verbatim, but in your discovery process, these are questions that you need to intimately understand and connect with in terms of the answer. So the first question is this. So if you've got a product, you're out. First question is this. Who do they do business with now? Who do they do business with now? Second question is, what do they like most about who they do business with now? So we're talking about new business development here, going into a different patch. We've got a competitor that's servicing that particular prospect or customer. We need to try and uncover some value. So what do they like most about that? So who do they do business with now? Who do they do business with? What do they like most about who they do business with? The third question, and this is where the opportunity is, what would they change, alter or improve about who they do business with now? What would they change, alter or improve about who they do business with now? So who do they do business with now? ABC, what do you like about it? I like the terms, I like the service, I like the relationship I have with the salesperson, whatever it may be. What would be one thing that you would change? Or what do you mean by that? Well, if you're the CEO of that company and they were sitting here in front of you and you could advise them, other than price, what else could they do differently? What would you say to him or her? Oh, well, I would say this, whatever it may be. That's our opportunity to create value around that. And the fourth question is, who else in addition to this person, that's the person we're speaking with, who else in addition to this person will be involved in the final decision? Who else in addition to the person I'm speaking with will be involved in the final decision? And on the back of what Jeremy has just recommended to you, build your framework around those types of questions. And it's not just business. Maybe for me, it's 4 or 5 business, 1 personal. 4 or 5 business, 1 personal. Be prepared. You mightn't always get to the personal, but have done some research on LinkedIn or wherever it may be that your particular prospect is. Go in informed, because if not, you will move to your default position. What I mean by the default position is that's an iceberg up there. For those of you that don't know, whatever you see above the waterline is 1/8 of what is below. Salespeople, when you're communicating with people, there are 2 types of communication. One is called what we call above the line. And this is where salespeople talk about facts and figures and data and timeframes and pricing and features and benefits, and they're really, really, really important. But most salespeople stay there. They stay up above the line, where the actual purchasing decisions are actually made below the line. And this is where we create a sense of trust and a sense of connection and credibility and empathy, and people feel listened to, we're transparent, we're authentic. So the goal becomes to develop the skill set that you can have these really important, logical, above-the-line conversations, but connect them using language in more of an emotive way. People will always make a decision emotionally, and then they'll go away and defend it logically. So that again, always make the decision emotionally, and then they'll go away and defend it logically.
And there's a really good example actually, that a story about Richard Branson and the owner of Kawasaki, I think Michael Kawasaki anyway. And Richard Branson was at a green room in an event with the owner of Kawasaki bikes. And has anybody heard this story before? No? And they both had a conversation, and Richard asked Mr. Kawasaki, what airline do you use? And he said Delta Airlines. He's been a customer for Delta for a very long time. He's got membership, rewards, all this kind of stuff. And immediately, Richard Branson got down on his knee and started shining his shoes. And from that day forward, the owner of Kawasaki always flew Virgin Airlines. After that, emotional connection.
People, we're wired to hear stories from people, but there's a couple of house rules, particularly in the sales environment. When you get a talk, or if you're going to present or write an effective sales story for yourself, it's got to serve a purpose. It's got to be really clear, not about us, but more about the customer, in terms of it's got a clear purpose with a clear message on it. Obviously, it must be truthful. It's got to be relevant to today, trying to get across a point, whatever it may be. And the story must be credible. And one of the ways to help you in your communication of creating a good story is I'm going to ask you all to just engage in a very, very quick exercise with me. So if you just put everything down and stand up, if you could, please. And buddy up. Just find a buddy. Any person, one person only. Everyone got a buddy? Who hasn't got a buddy? Right up the front here. Who hasn't got a buddy? There's one. Here, behind you. 1, 2. All right. Okay. So this is a game of communication. This is in line with like storytelling. And in this game, there are only 2 outcomes. You will either win or you will lose. To save embarrassment for anyone, when either you or your buddy win, or by definition lose, I want you both to sit down. So the only person who knows who won or lost is you and your buddy. Is everyone clear on that? Okay, really simple game. Good games are always simple. Game of communication, and this just has a couple of house rules. The topic of communication that you are going to talk about is completely up to you and your buddy. That's between you two. So you guys can call that. There's only 2 conditions. Number 1, like any normal communication, the conversation needs to be continuous. So just keep it rolling about whatever that topic is. And the second thing, which will define whether you win or lose, is you cannot use the word I. Go. Right, okay, good job. Thank you. 30 seconds. Well done. Just be in here. Playing people sitting. Who found that challenging? Have you ever thought about why that's the case for almost all people?
Because you're talking about ourselves too much.
And never is it more profound than what it is in sales. As an organisation, we listen to literally thousands of recorded calls each year. And if you ever really wanted to, if you're really serious about growth, can I ask you to do this? Next time that you go into a sales meeting, or like a sales presentation, or if you're making outbound telephone calls, follow-up calls, prospecting calls, account management calls, whatever it may be, could I ask you just to get your phone and just press record and take a couple of presentations? I'm not worried about hearing the customer, I'm just for yourself. And in the privacy of your own home or of your own car, driving home, just press rewind and hit play. And that's your world. And sometimes it's not until you really hear that, because most of us have a certain view of ourselves. We think that we're going to, we're acceptable, whatever it might be. But in sales, the amounts of times, the average salesperson will use the word I 7 times in the first 60 seconds. And they're totally oblivious to it. So as sales professionals, the language is we, us, our, not me, my, I. And one of the great things about learning is that when you have that realization, you say to yourself, goodness me, like that is me. And you take yourself in February, work on it in March, take yourself again in April, and then do it again in June, and you listen to the February to the June, profoundly different.
Into the relationship, the we as in
We,
you and
yeah,
the client?
yeah,
the
yeah,
we?
yeah, yeah. What do you feel should be the next step? You mentioned that before. Could you elaborate on that? It was interesting that you said that. You, we, us, our. And the reason I could do that is because our place that we're most safe is our default, which is us, ourselves. Let me tell you everything I know about my products and services, and we know it backwards. But that's not enough today. It's how does that relate? How do we connect? All of those things are really important. So tip 2 or tip 3 from today is just put yourselves on tape and have a listen to the reality of the world. And don't beat yourselves up about it, because the vast majority of people in this profession will choose not to do it. They live their philosophy on this, they live their life on this philosophy, I'll work it out, and they don't. Language matters. It really matters. Have a look at your email correspondence. What is that actually saying to people? Are you the true storyteller? Is what I'm getting at. Over to you, Jeremy.
There's actually a couple of unique studies done in the US, university, I think it's McKeon, and they did a study on when you are telling a story as well, the 2 people in the room, your brainwaves actually start to match up, see, in synchronization. So you understand each other on a different type of level. The influence, if you are from the story listener, or the storyteller's perspective, the other person that's listening, they are influenced by more about what you're saying. So you can actually drive influence by simply creating an impactful story. Just some other things that brought up. So it brings me to, what kind of business are you guys actually in? What are you guys doing? What are you?
Healthcare.
Healthcare. Anybody else? What kind of business?
Helping Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce.
Strategic communication.
Strategic communication. Anybody else?
Coaching, consulting.
Coaching.
Recruitment.
Recruitment.
Photography, filming.
Photography.
Creating mindful experiences.
Creating mindful experiences for people. What are we all trying to do at the end of the day? What type of business are you actually in? Who are you helping? Who are you helping? Solving problems? Other people. So we're helping other people some way or another. Whatever we are doing, whatever we are selling, we're solving problems, but we're solving them for people. And so everybody is in the business of people. And those people should always come first when we are explaining, presenting, pitching, whatever. They should come first over your service or whatever product you may have. Should always be second. Using an 80-20 rule is really good to identify how much time you're spending on actually trying to help people over talking about your product or service. So, mate, they must come first. Whatever industry you are in, selling is 80% people and 20% product. So, for an example, when you go to, why would you buy milk at a server? Convenience. Anything else? Is it good milk? Is it better milk than than Coles or Woolworths? Where can you get the best milk from? Maybe from the dairy farmers, probably. But generally you go to Woolworths, Coles to get your milk, right? So you go and you get your milk from the servo because you want convenience. How much do you pay for the servo milk? More. And what do you pay it more for? Convenience. So there's a bit of extra money, $2, that you've just paid for convenience. What's something in your business that you can add value to? That value for the servo milk is convenience. When I go and get my car washed, I drive to the other side of the goddamn city. I don't know why, it's pretty stupid, but it's the price is a little bit higher, and I drive half an hour across the middle of town to get my car serviced at a particular mechanic. And there's a reason for that. Is because the service that they give me, they're concerned more about the people than the actual service, right? The servicing, two types of service, yeah. They care more about the people, because I get a clean car, I get my wheels shined up, and it's so small of a thing, but I don't know, I don't have to wash my car, I just have a nice car at the end of the day. And I will drive across town to do that. Because it's not convenient, but I'm paying extra money to do that. So we can think of brands. Think of some brands that you guys paid more money for. What's a brand that you guys would pay more money for?
Yeah.
Apple? Yeah. They're definitely expensive products. Why? Why do you pay more for that brand? Reputation. Reliability.
Support network.
Support network. So these things, they're all adding little chunks up to the value. It might just be the brand, you might feel good, you want to have a nice new phone, but at the end of the day, you're adding value to these customers. And so, how can you add value in your business? Is there anything that you guys can think of right now that you can add service-wise to your customers, to your sales process, that you're not necessarily doing right now? Anything? Yep.
In real estate, something that's new is happening is digital appraisal. So you don't even have to meet the person, they don't have to face-to-face with you. It gives you an opportunity to meet them but not meet them, allowing the next step.
Fantastic. Appraisals, free appraisals. I know a business broker who does that. What kind of service can you add to your customers? Anybody have any examples? Anything that you think you can add to your shine your shoes? Anything like that?
Well, it's not, for me, it's one that I just experienced, and it was totally exceeding my expectation. You get your car service. People get the car service all the time.
Yeah.
They met me with a coffee order. What would you like? And there's the coffee shop. Anything you want.
Wow.
Would you like a paper?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. That's not all. There's more. I come back, my car's washed with my wheels detailed and vacuumed. But wait, there's more. They email me a video of them going over my car,
Wow.
pointing out everything that they did, and if I have any questions.
And how much extra does it cost?
And I said, what do I owe you for the first step? The bill says $100, no charge.
There you go. They definitely sure want repeat customers. So how can you be more interested as well? So one more example I think Peter has. He's itching to tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, do you know this?
Yeah, I think what Jeremy's trying to make there is that we can come along with these things and we kind of hear these ideas, but I just think it might be worthwhile if we just spend 2 or 3 minutes now and just really do a deep dive yourselves. What could you really, like, genuinely do tomorrow that could potentially value add something? But sometimes we just need to get the oxygen in the space to do that. Would you go into that? So 2 or 3 minutes? Just trying to think and see if we can get a couple of ideas around the room. What could you do that would add value or heighten the customer experience, the customer journey with the people that you touch commercially moving forward? What could you do? I'll give you a minute or two.
Welcome.
Half of this. All right, has everyone got any ideas? What's something that they could do that would enhance the customer experience? Anyone? Go.
For example, for maximize real estate agents, so perhaps I can do the thing where make it convenient for them by picking up the keys from their office, unlocking it after doing the shoot for them. And it's actually pretty
Perfect.
more convenient.
It's something. Someone else? Yeah, go.
Cafe, probably roll out some live music.
Yeah. What's the music you like?
Everything's going.
Oh, giddy go.
I'm liking the acoustic stuff. So.
Yeah, great. Great. What about this? This is the Sales Masters International, 28 years of business. This is our marketing spend. What's the date today?
16.
Every single client of ours, between the months of February and November, gets a handwritten thank you card from the POC, or the point of contact, the account manager, who was the lead on the project, every single year. Hi Jack, I'm just sitting here in my office and your name came across my desk. I just wanted to pen out a quick thanks for your business last year. Trust things are going well. No doubt the cross paths again. Kind regards, Bill. Hi Mary, just sitting here in my office. It's been 3 or 4 years since the project was now completed. We trust the initiative has met all expectations. We're very keen to keep the communication channels open. That still continues to work for you. Trust you on the feed. Well, kind regards, Mary, whatever. Then it goes out on a Jack Smith, CEO, Smith Engineering, Smith, 1 Smith Street, Smithville, postage stamp, and on the back, 2 lines, private. Business card in and go. Investment, around 60 to 90 seconds. Financial, dollar, payoff, extraordinary. And there's not one person here in this room today that can't apply that discipline to their world tomorrow. And you mark my words about the outcome of that. Everyone is trying to find you, or what about we just look back? 69% of your clients will leave you for one reason. Do you know what it is? Just indifference. It's not that you necessarily did anything wrong, you're just giving a reason to stay. someone came across with another story to tell, they thought they'd go and have a look. Thank people. People appreciate being appreciated. So that could be something that you might like to take away again. That's all it is, just that. We don't send Christmas cards. Why don't we send Christmas cards and things like that? Oh, sorry?
Because everybody does.
Well, everyone does. It's also disingenuous, and research supports all that. So if you're going to start, if you can talk about account management, you can talk about staying connected to customers, walk your talk. Walk your talk. And just one a year, just one a year. Just a quick thank you. Thanks for your business. When's the last time you wrote a thank you to someone when you lost a quote? I'm just sitting here in my office and I know that we were unsuccessful in that last proposal. I wanted to just thank you for giving us the opportunity of putting our credentials in front of you. And so potentially in the weeks, months and years ahead, we may be able to cross paths again and reconnect. Trust you well with the initiative, trust you well with the job, wherever it may be, my regards. Thank you. And that's how you build credibility in the marketplace. Investment, 60 to 90 seconds. Financial, $1. Payout, enormous. Why not email rather than handwritten? Why not email? Email's easy. Why would I not do that? Because it's human to human. That's the human to human. We send these to some of the CEOs of the largest organisations in Australia. I've never ever had one not get through an EA or a PA. It's just, they look at it and go, see, I'll leave that to you. Because it's all handwritten. And just on this thing, we're just talking about value again. You know, pizza, I just said to Jeremy the other day that there was a bloke called Bob Monahan. Bob Monahan worked out if someone wants a pizza, they want it when? Now, he worked out that people don't order a pizza Thursday week at 4:30. He worked out if someone wants a pizza, they want it now. If you could get it into someone's office or home now, in the next 30 minutes, they would pay the most extraordinary amounts of money for it. And it didn't matter about the quality, it could be absolutely rubbish. And he turned that one idea into $1 billion business, which is Domino's Pizzas. Now, I don't know if you've had one, I'm not here, I've been recorded, but for me, if it was all about, people will pay $22, $24, $25 for this pretty average quality pizza. But if it was all about price, for half that, or $14, $15, they could go to the local pizza wood-fired oven thing, get it all beautiful and fresh, but they don't. So finding value through delivery is another one. Finding value, we were talking before about service, about reputation, about follow-up, responsiveness, all of these things. You need, I encourage you, to understand what is it about your brand and your offer that you can leverage to create value rather than price. Which brings me, I said before that lots of people say what they want is the cheapest price, what they really want is the best value for money, so I'm going to actually try and prove that to you now. Here's the deal. You want to catch a flight from Sydney to Melbourne. Postcode. Where would most people go to get a one-way ticket from Sydney to Melbourne? Where would most people go?
Webjet.
Yeah, well, I think people go to the web. They go somewhere. Cheap flights, Webjet, whatever it may be. So this scenario, you're flying down from, where are we going? From Sydney to Melbourne. You're paying for it, it's not a work expense, and for some reason you're flying down and you're going to drive this car back. So you go searching and you find this one-way ticket for $98. But to reduce your risk, you thought, I'll just check, spend another 2 or 3 minutes on another website, just see what else is out there, and you stumble across this half price, again, for $49. One is 98, one is 49. Both of these are on jet aircraft. Both of them take approximately an hour and 10 or 15 minutes, and both of them take off the land around about 300 or 400 metres from each other. One's 98, one's half that, 49. What do you want to pay? So, most people would say, I want the cheapest price because it's just a flight. But what about if I told you that the 98 was on Qantas and the 49 was on Tiger? Who would reconsider their final purchasing decision? Why?
Reputation.
Reputation. Lots of
Because it's
The
good
experience,
value.
the past experience.
Sorry?
Past experience.
Past experience, say again?
It's normal value for Tiger, but it's good value for Qantas.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust in the brand.
Yeah, well, it is trust in the brand. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But the truth of the matter is that Qantas has what's called a USP. Well, actually, I don't want to confuse you. Anyone ever heard the term USP? Okay. USP stands for a unique selling proposition. Now, I don't want to confuse you, but it's actually, what's the definition of unique? That's it. So it's no longer actually a USP, it's actually what's called a DSP, which is a distinctive. And I'll unpack that for you. So what that means is that if you, with this DSP, distinctive selling proposition, what it means, if you catch a flight on that airline anywhere in Australia between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8, between the hours of 12 and 1:30, and between the hours of 5:45 and 7:15, you will be served breakfast, lunch and dinner. If you catch a flight on that airline anywhere in Australia, excluding those 3 blocks, you'll give a complimentary morning tea, afternoon tea, etc. If it's what they call a city flyer, which is between 3 p.m. and 8:15, I think, or it might soon be 8 o'clock, they'll give you free beer, wine, whatever it may be. If you want as much as a glass of water on Tiger, you will pay $6 for it. The national, the national carry, or the national weight, the average weight of the average national passenger is 22.5 kilos. That's the average. And you may carry a bit more, you may carry a bit less, but that's the national average. Tiger has a 10 kilo limit. If you turned up at the counter and you were just 200 grams over, in the interest of customer service, they'd obviously let you on, would they not?
No.
They would. Would they charge you for it?
Yes.
Yes, they charge you plenty for it. Exactly. This airline, Qantas, that's a frequent flyer, has a degree of flexibility around its check-in times, around 30 minutes. There's some flexibility there. This airline has a 60-minute check-in. If you turned up just 1 minute and they said flight closed, obviously they'd let you on just because you were just running out 30 seconds late, would they? No. Would they charge you to rebook? Yes, they would. And on it goes. So what Tiger do with that $49 is their business model is to attract people through cheap price. Exactly. Whereas this airline, or this particular business, has a unique or distinctive selling proposition. And the reason it's no longer unique, if you go back to Virgin about 5 or 6 years ago, do you remember if anyone was flying Virgin then? You'd pull out the food card and you'd buy a pie or a sausage roll. Remember all that? Mm-hmm. Right. And the then CEO of Virgin, who was an ex-Qantas executive, understood just how profound that value proposition was, that he introduced that if you fly Virgin today, you get breakfast, lunch, dinner and all that. It won't be to the standard of Qantas, but nonetheless it's no longer a unique selling proposition. And you will be, this is my judgment, I think in the next, once this COVID settles, you will see an airline like Qantas come back out with another USP. What businesses are forever doing is reinventing themselves with a stronger value proposition. So why am I sharing this with you? If you don't have something other than a number in a box, a price, something of value to tell a story around, it's just, that's the only thing that's going to be left for people to actually make an informed decision on. So you need to do nothing. I encourage you to start thinking about what is my real value proposition? What is it? And when you've done that, what we have is what's called story cards. And this is just a one-pager which has a couple of visuals that in a sales presentation you can talk to, that maps out, rather than saying we do this, we offer 24/7, we'll do this. It's not about that. It's about putting visuals into your sales presentation and be able to map that out. Simple things like if you were to ring my mobile phone now, if I was to ring your mobile phone, what would I hear? Right now, if it was off, what would I go? Go to message bank? What would it say?
Oh, you reached Sharon, sorry I can't take the call at the moment. Please leave your name, brief message, and your number, and I'll leave it for you.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
It's my Sharon, it's,
Very good.
So if you were to ring my mobile now or anyone in my business, you would hear, thanks for calling Peter at Sales Masters. I'm currently serving clients at the moment. Please leave your name and number and I'll return your call within 4 business hours. Now, the reason I say that is because everyone returns calls within 4 business hours anyway, correct? Almost all of us. But if you do that, it's better than I'll get back to you when I can. Does that make sense? Again, it's just putting yourself in. These are tips that you can change that tonight. I'll return your call within 4 business hours. Or, you know, what are your policies regarding around creating better value? I might be able to talk to Peter all the time because I'll ring back, I may be presenting or something. I can't talk to you now, but I can talk to you after 5 or if not tomorrow morning. And people are accepted of that. Yes.
The good thing on yours too is it says, thank you for the call.
Yes.
I always tell people who say sorry, you know, don't be sorry straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Say thank you.
Yeah.
So create a positive straight away.
Exactly. Absolutely. Okay. Where are we up to? But having said all of that, at the end of the day, I'm going to do the language. Right. You might like to write these down. Let's go to the next one, Jeremy. Can you see that up the back? The first one is can you hold? So if someone rings in, I ring in for Jeremy and I say, is Jeremy there? Sorry, Jeremy's on the phone at the moment, can you hold? What would be something more customer centric we could say?
Can I help?
Yeah, Jeremy's on the phone at the moment, can I help you? Great, excellent, another one. Jeremy's on the phone at the moment, do you have the time to wait? I'll write that down. It's just a beautiful statement that says everything about you and your brand. Just on the phone at the moment, Mary's on the phone at the moment, do you have the time to wait? Look, as a matter of fact, she's getting to ring me back. Well, yeah, I've got a minute, whatever it may be. Next one, I should get this done by, in sales language, would be replaced with, I should get this done by. Yeah, exactly. I will get this done by. Look, cost and price. It's part of our vernacular. We talk about it. I get it. I'm not saying don't stop. I'm not saying don't use it. But depending on your product and depending on your product, service or solution, maybe rather than product cost or price, the word could be investment. Exactly. Investment. Sign. Australians hate signing things. So don't ask them to sign things. A couple of options. Well, we get them to authorise, we get them to get you to endorse. Mary, I'll just get that over to get you to okay, approve even. Just softer language, there's a couple there. Approve, endorse, authorise, or okay. The order, the contract. Order, the contract, or? Agreement. Agreement, yeah, or the paperwork, yeah, the agreement or the paperwork. Less salesish, you know? Is this really what you want to buy? Australians don't like to buy, but they do love to
Purchase.
own. We're not looking for their business today. In sales, we're looking for the terminology is. Now, not that anyone would talk like this. Look, now that we've worked out that the cost of the widget is $5,500 if you wanted to sign the contract, now that we've worked out that you want to buy the widget, the cost is $5,000. If you want to sign the contract, we'll get things moving for you today. It's exactly the same as saying, look, Jack, now that we've established that this is the widget, you'd ideally like to own it, as we discussed earlier, the total investment is $5,500. Now, obviously, if you feel comfortable approving the paperwork, leaving us with a small part payment, we'll be in a position to get things moving for you now. Same thing, said differently. It's not that you never talk like that, but it's wiring this language in, so when we're having these conversations, it's less salesish. Deal, I got a deal for you. Like, look, people talk about deals, but really it's, maybe we talk about opportunity. Look, there's a couple of opportunities you'd like to explore a little bit further with you. Customer says I've got a problem with that. Option could be, yeah, well, there's a couple of challenges, a number of concerns that we need to address. If people say, oh, look, if that's, I've heard salespeople say, oh, look, if that's all you've got, you need to look at something cheaper. Look, Jack and Mary, based on your budget parameters, what about we look at something that may prove a little more economical for you, rather than cheapness? It's that respect for people, you know? Just language is really, really important. So you might want to, if anyone wants to take a photo of that, and actually, you guys are interested in getting this deck off us? Do you want this PowerPoint?
Please.
Yeah? Okay, great. I'll make sure everyone gets it. Is there anyone here that would prefer that we did make contact with them regarding this? Okay, thanks. Righto. Right, objections. Sorry, Jeremy.
No, you're
Yes,
cool.
anyway. The truth is, there is no profession in the world where you're going to lose more often than you win, than you will in sales. So we're going to get plenty of objections. And has anyone ever been involved in a sale and had this said to them? Thanks very much for your time. Just let me think it over and I'll get back to you. Oh, really? You've heard that? How do you deal with that? We get it every single day. How do we deal with it? What's the approach? Is there an approach? Does anyone have an approach?
Well, you would say, okay, what about I give you a call next week and see what, so.
Yeah, right. So it's, thanks very much. Okay, I hear that. I'll give you a call next week. Someone else got another approach?
Tell them we're here to help when they're ready.
Here to help when you're ready.
Ask why you're delaying.
Ask why you're delaying.
If you've got any concerns and happy to discuss anything that might pop up.
Here's the thing with objections, and this is why the whole sales process, engaging with people and building that trust and credibility is profoundly important, because if you don't, and you get to this point, what I'm about to share with you, not only will not work, it's just wrong. So when I get an objection, to me, it falls under only one or two categories. It is either the truth or it's an untruth. Agreed?
Yeah.
It is either they really want to think it over, or that is a statement that has been shared, because most times when they say that to most people, that will allow them to move on. So for me, when I talk to people, what drives and motivates my behaviour is my bordering on obsession to find out what is the truth of this conversation. I just want the truth. I don't want anything else other than just what is the reality of this conversation, rather than the fluff. And so I put together a process that I'm going to share with you shortly about how to actually deal this in a really comfortable, non-threatening, non-salesish way. It could be a price objection, a cost objection, budget objection, all sorts of stuff. It could be, there's lots of reasons why people give us objections. Quality of service, didn't earn the trust in the relationship, procrastination. So what I'm going to do, just watch this first off, I'll unpack it for you. I'm going to listen, I'm going to demonstrate this for you here live. You watch me listen, I'm going to understand, not spiffy, understand, Jeremy's going to be the customer, I'm going to respond, and I'm going to confirm. And it just doesn't matter what the objection is. Now, whether it is this methodology or another methodology, I have seen salespeople go through their entire careers, and no one has ever stopped to help these men and women address common objections. And that can stop tonight. Not forward, not rude, but you have to learn something in terms of how am I going to address these things. Because quote and hope, quote and hope, quote and hope, quote and hope is not cutting. Agree? Okay. So in this scenario, the relationship is solid. Jeremy and I have been doing business for quite a period of time. Not doing business, I've been nurturing this opportunity. He's had a proposal in front of him now. I'm sitting with him and I've said to him, it might be something as simple as, so Jeremy, I guess my question would be, based on our discussions, what do you feel should be the next step from here?
Well, Peter, I just want to have a think about it.
Okay, look, I think that makes pretty good commercial sense. I mean, the truth of the matter is I think we've come a fair way over the last couple of weeks, and certainly from my perspective and sales master's perspective, Jeremy, the last thing we want to see any of our clients do is make a decision if they're not comfortable. So let's park it. Look, very quickly, just as we wrap up, can I ask you one final question? And just level with me, just be really open with me. If you were to take our proposal and think it through over the coming days or weeks, what's going to be the one key area that you'd really give the most thought to?
Well, it really does come down to the price.
Pricing. Okay, well, thanks for the heads up on that. I appreciate that. And price certainly is an important consideration. Can I just add on exit, can I ask you one last question? Jeremy, if you and I could revisit the numbers in the proposal this afternoon, I don't know, come up with a number that we could sort of eyeball each other today and say, you know, that'll get it done. Just assume we can massage those numbers and we're both comfortable. Can I ask you, would there be anything else, obviously, other than the pricing issue you've raised, that would inhibit you moving forward with me now?
Well, not really, no.
As an example. So, listen, I hear that, Jeremy. I think that makes really good commercial sense. I don't say that because it's a script. I say that because it's right. Does that make sense? I think it makes really good commercial sense. I don't want any of our clients making a decision unless they're totally comfortable with it. Understand. I get it. So let's just park that. Just before we go, do you mind if I ask you, if you were to take the time over the coming days or weeks and really think this proposal over, think this quote over, if you were really to do a deep dive on it, can I just ask you to level with me? What's going to be, I didn't say what do you want to think about, what did I say? Did anyone hear it? What would be the one key area? So the question is framed for Jeremy or the prospect to answer with how many responses? One. If you were to take your time over the coming days and weeks and think this proposal over, tell me what would be the one key area that you'd really give the most thought to? What would that be? Is Peter's going to be the price? I said, okay. Thanks for the heads up on that. And then I'd ask you a very simple closing question. Let's just, and then how much money have I given away so far? And I've got a commitment to do business when?
Today.
Yeah, now. And what's happening in the negotiation, there's a thing that's called the bargaining arena. I don't know, we go into this much more in our one-day program, but the bargaining arena is setting up what's called the leverage pin. And the leverage pin is right now, that's all with Jeremy. The hardest thing that Jeremy has to do as a prospect, is he has to make a decision to do business with someone. Does that make sense? And the minute that that happens, that leverage pin is moved from him to me. So I said, what's the one key area? He said, it's going to be a pricing issue, Peter. And I said, all right, good. So can I just ask you, if you're comfortable, one last question. If we could massage the numbers, or we could revisit the numbers on the proposal, and I don't know, we could come up with the number this afternoon, we could eyeball each other, this is my language, and we could look at each other and say, you know, that'll get it done. Can I just ask you, Jeremy, is there anything else in the proposal, other than the pricing issue you've raised, that would inhibit you giving me a go forward on the document now? No, Peter, there'd be nothing else. And that leverage has gone from him to me, then we negotiate and hopefully close, or otherwise. Does that resonate with you in the room? Was I rude to him?
No.
Was I aggressive to him? Smarty? No. So again, you know, he may say, like if someone said, what's your best price? You ever had that?
Yes.
What's your response to that?
Are you a pensioner?
Pardon? Are you a pensioner?
What quantity are you looking for?
When you're negotiating with someone, a lot of this is just noise. If you're not skilled, if you're not aware of negotiation, what we tend to do is answer the question literally. Everything that I do in sales is I'm working to define, is there an opportunity to do business with?
No.
Right. So the first thing, if someone said, Peter, what's your best price? I'll say, okay, Jack, well, price is certainly an important consideration. Can I ask you, what else other than price is going to affect your final decision? What other things are on the table here? So I'm trying to narrow this down to it's just a dollar figure. Does that make sense? Yes, no? Okay. Give me some other objections that you get on a daily basis that you're struggling with.
Gotta check with my partner.
Sorry?
Gotta check with my
I've got
partner.
to check with the partner. And the reason that would never happen to me is because I had 4 questions. Who do you do business with now? What do you like about who do you do business with now? What would you change off improve about who you do business with now? And who in addition to yourself will be involved in the final decision? All of these things are part of the process that you never get to a negotiation or a closing opportunity where that happens. And that's the value. So really pleased that you brought that up. What else do you get?
Let's take that back a step.
Yeah.
So working in a law firm, for example, which is where I used to be, I would meet vendors, I'd put the, decide what I wanted to go forward with and put that proposal to the partners. There was never an opportunity for a vendor to
totally
meet
accept
partners who
that.
would make a
Government.
decision. So how do you?
No, well, we wouldn't. I
break
should
that
preface it. You're absolutely correct. There are some environments now, procurement and things like that, where that is not possible anymore. I totally accept that. but I'm trying to guess give the audience the importance of trying to scope out the decision-making process as best we can. In terms of that, what potential could we influence? I don't know, but yes, I agree with that. There's typically a POC, point of contact, that will take that to board level. Yeah, I agree with that.
How many times do you guys usually contact your customers after you've spoke to them once? How many times? Once, twice, 3 times?
As many as needed.
As many as needed?
Well, so I use for one of the better word, I use an agency to get me leads.
Yes.
They send me a message and they say so and so wants such and such fund. There's the number. My contract with them, so I must contact that person within the hour.
Yep, once, contact the person, within the hour.
I call them.
Yep.
If they don't answer, they voice message with my number and I ask them to ring me when I get that message. Now, there's 2 options. They can ring me, I've got a call, or they ring me and it goes to my voice message.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm calling them back. Then I'm arranging time for me. So I look at the job, we do the quote. And during that time, then we look at, okay, whether or not they'll take the quote, and also when I can sit them in to do the job.
So a few times? Yep. So we're touching base with customers at least once or twice, at least. There's a really good, a few statistics anyway that are really important, and probably, I don't know if you guys have seen this before. I've seen it so many times, it pops up a lot, but it's so important that people understand these statistics, that 48% of people never follow up on the first time after their first contact. 25% of salespeople make a second contact and stop, but 80% of most sales are actually on the 12th or more contact. That's contact, not leaving voicemails 12 times. It's simply how many times you touch base with them. First, prospect, maybe go to the proposal, etc. But maybe have to speak with somebody at least 12 times. I have a simple philosophy. It's I follow it with somebody as much as needed. Meaning if I feel that I need to reach out with that customer, I will reach out with them because I believe that it's in the best interest for them. And I don't want to come across, nobody wants to come across as annoying, and nobody likes rejection. And so that's my approach, and it's generally a 14-day period. Generally, they wait around to get a response, and that's the complete wrong approach. As you can see, 50% of sales happen after the 5th touch. And 50% of your customers right now aren't actually ready to buy when you're actually talking to them for the first time or the second time. They're not ready to buy. So what do you need to do? Keep connecting. Reach out. Stay committed and persistent. Generally, you can use a sales CRM. Everybody know what a CRM is? Yep. Keeping it simple.
Sorry, no.
Yeah. Oh, CRM, customer relationship management system to track your calls or your activities. Utilizing one of them will be able to help you achieve a better sales process and improve your results, because it's in the data that you'll find those numbers. And just a bit of marketing as well for you. 20 statistics on emails, 20% are only ever read, but 98% of text messages are read. Huge difference. So the key idea is you need to start thinking outside the box when reaching out to people. Don't just stick to the old email or calls. You've got other ways now. Facebook messages. You've got tweets. I don't even have a Twitter account. I should. But the fact of the matter is 98% of text messages are read, which is a huge number. Have you reached out to any customers via text? Yeah. It's highly personable. Now, Peter, do you want to close up on this?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that just about wraps it up. We hope it's brought a bit of value. We kicked it off just talking about the importance of human-to-human contact, you know, we're all behind emails, some of us hide, all of us hide. But it's not enough today, you know, sales is a contact sport, and if we're not talking and engaging with customers authentically, our competition is. So the H to H is really, really important. Yes, price is important, we get that, but you know, strong recommendation from today would be to, well, what can I actually do about creating a stronger value proposition? And how on earth am I going to communicate that so to people so it resonates with them? Business ethics, we've spoken about that. You know, it's a wonderful profession. And those men and women like you and I in it, you know, we should we continue to remain grounded. We're not what was up on the board before. We're proud of our profession, and we'll remain students of it. It's going to make us, and by extension, everyone else involved in it better. Have a process, guys. It just have something. The right process executed effectively will change your business. And when you get an inbound telephone call, are you using any sales enablement tools, any technology? Are we Zooming? Are we Skyping? Are we doing a join.me? Are we using Loom videos to maybe connect with customers differently? Are we doing the extra things that ordinary people or our competitors refuse to do? Really, really important. And qualification, you know, BAT, budget, authority, timeframes. Driving those 4 questions and the questions that Jeremy, the task that Jeremy suggested that you should really start focusing on writing a really good list of intelligent, clever, thought-provoking, customer-centric questions that are about them, not about us. And yes, I'm not saying for a moment have a conversation like use the word I, but this is I mean mine, much more we, us, our. So I guess just to conclude it all, what we would like to do is we'd like to help. It's not a trick, it's there. So if anyone, if you want to pull out your mobile phones and take a photo of that link, you want to go to it and you want some help, our commitment to you is that we will come back and re-engage at no investment. And ideally answer some of the questions. I know that up the back there was a question about procurement and all that. We haven't got to that today. I apologise about that. But I just think between Jeremy and I and our network, we've probably got an answer to most of the questions for most of the people. So we'd like to offer that. And I guess just on behalf of Jeremy and myself, I'd like to just say thank you for giving us the opportunity of presenting to you today. And certainly we look forward to maybe sometime in the future coming back and sharing with you all the very best of what we know. Thank you.
Any questions? Any question that you guys have? Yep.
Question of unsolicited contact with clients that you've dealt with in the past.
Do not call registered. If you're unsoliciting calls, you're making cold calls. And what are the rules around that?
Context, you know, like you've dealt with someone 2 years ago and you want to reconnect, but it can be perceived to be spam. So
Yeah.
how do you address that?
Well, what I do is I ask people. I ask them what are they comfortable in re-engaging. Again, my philosophy, like I said during the presentation, I don't want to talk to people who want to talk to me. And imparting myself or forcing myself on others, read this about me or sales masters, to me, is not a value alignment for me. So typically what I do is I ask decision makers, do I have the permission to continue to be re-engaged as I did all of them today? So legally, I can't answer that. That would definitely be illegal. And Jeremy, you've come from that world a bit more. Is it?
It's different. It's a cold call basis. But if you've contacted somebody previously about a product or service in the past and you're engaging, they'll always be in your list. And there's no unsolicited calling like laws unless it's a cold call. If it's warm and it's already in your customer base, there's not much that there's no do not call registers or anything like that will affect you. But like I said, what Peter said, I would be if you're re-engaging with a customer, you want to ask them if that's okay. You want to bring that up. Send them a text, send them an email if you've been talking to them in the past, and ask if you'd like to reconnect.
Just drop them an email, just be transparent and say, look, it's been 2 years since we've last spoken, and I'm mindful. And I wanted to at least pay the courtesy of letting you know I'm going to give you a call in a couple of days' time, just to touch base to see if there's any appetite from you in terms of re-engaging. Speak then. It's cut through the clutter and have that really authentic, truthful conversation with people. And people respond to it today because there's so much noise out there, isn't there?
You've finished off with the words process and focus.
Yeah.
So getting into staff a system of process and focus, that's really what your business is about. The question is, how do you do it?
That's very easy. Have strong accountability and strong leadership and consequences for non-adherence.
The last one again.
Consequences for non-adherence. Because there'll be plenty of salespeople in your business who won't want what you want. They want to take a sales process and design their own. Fine. You to work out as a business leader, what's your pathway? So, the biggest lack in most salespeople is that of discipline. And when you can put them on a career path and give them a return and the right motivation, the right leadership, this is how we go about things here. And if they don't want to go about things like that, that's okay. They need to find happiness somewhere else. But if they come here, this is how we go. And we support them, coach them, move them, motivate them, educate them. That there is consequences for non-adherence. Because if you start playing with the sales process, that'll play with outcomes.
You can't ever really motivate somebody to find their self-motivation. How can they be motivated themselves instead of you motivating, trying to motivate somebody?
Yeah, like, you know, I was talking to someone the other day. This guy said to me, he said, Peter, I thought motivation, it's all about motivation. I said, well, motivation, you're right, is very important in the sales process. But if someone is an idiot you motivate, all you've got to motivate an idiot, that's very dangerous, you know. So it's not just about motivation, was the joke that I was just saying. So I think it's about education, I think it's about leadership, it's about having the right induction. But you'll find the top performing, the top 1 or 2% selling organisations that are really, really, you know, hitting their straps ethically, smashing all the numbers. But the common thread in that is accountability, consequences for the salespeople.
And measurability as well.
Yeah.
What's a clever way to write a follow-up email based on a quote or a proposal? Because the whole just following up on our last conversation gets old, and it's not really a creative way of asking when to get started.
So it's not like you're sending a proposal and then sending out an email.
Yeah.
What we do in our proposals is we say in the very last paragraph, as part of our customer service charter here at Sales Masters, I've penciled you in for a courtesy call, for a quick courtesy call, around about 2 to 3 business working days, just to answer any questions or queries you may have. Speak to you then when you go. It goes to the message bank, as I mentioned in my email. Quick courtesy call, thank you in advance for returning the call, and start that sort of a process. So I put the next step in the body of the email in terms of what I'm going to do. I think if you don't do that, I don't think, my experience is, if you don't do that, it's like it's fluff. Yeah, it's just, it's wrong on every level. It's wrong on every level. Yeah. And just another thing on your proposals, when you're doing them, make sure that you've got the client's brand on it, not your brand, or my brand. So in other words, you can send a proposal out, lots of businesses put their proposals all about their brand. And you've got to take your brand off if you're doing B2B, not rather than business to consumer, and make sure that you've got the client's brand on the proposal. The client's peppered right throughout the proposal, rather than all about sales masters. They don't care about you, they care about themselves.
Just responding to you said 98% of text messages get answered. If someone's seen it and doesn't respond, how do you then move past that to without?
It's like a bad relationship. Have you ever been ghosted before? You can sort of get a hint. If somebody's not responding to a text message, then there's a pretty good answer to your question. But not necessarily all the time. It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
But you can only be consistent, and you can only keep it up. But if there's still no response, you've got to take it eventually as a no, because they'll never tell you no. I literally had somebody last week who said, I was saying to him, no, it's not going to work. That's okay. He's like, oh yeah, I'll look over it. I'm saying it's not going to work. It's okay. And he said, oh yeah, I'll think about it anyway. So he just doesn't want to say no. People just don't want to say no.
My approach to that would be, if I sent a text to someone that wasn't responded, I would wait an appropriate period of time, depending on the situation. Certainly 2 days, maybe 3 or whatever. And I went right back and I'd say, you know, Jack, it's Peter McKeon here. I recently sent you a text. And that just been a response. What I will now do is leave this in your hands to re-engage if and when the time it best suits you. Take care, here to help Peter McKeon. So just move on. I don't want to talk to people who want to talk to you at SARS. Just remember that. You keep finding the people that want to engage with you. And we're just smashing our heads up against the wall all the time on this hope plane. You don't have to live like that. Lose early is the philosophy. Hope the voice was about it. Thanks, guys.